Sustainability thinking is defined as the capacity to engage effectively with social, environmental, and economic change and the challenges in the contemporary world. How would you, as a Jewish man, relate sustainability thinking to the Jewish culture?
In any religion, the importance of knowing the roots and the history of the people and their survival is critical to remembering important things about the religion. The Holocaust is a very important event that happened in Jewish history, where Jews were persecuted, and a good 2/3 of the Jewish population was annihilated. So it's critical for us to remember in our history of our people so that this type of thing is never repeated.
As a Jewish girl born and raised in southern Louisiana, where nearly everyone is a Christian and can be closed-minded in the sense that they are unsupportive of different cultures and religious practices that they don't understand, I had to ask myself, what is it that sustains Jewish culture for me? It didn't take long for me to realize that the largest factor behind the sustenance of my Jewish culture resulted from what I have learned in attending countless Holocaust museums. It's the ability of the Jewish people to not only survive the Holocaust, but also to openly speak about it that sustained this culture. The ability to speak about the Holocaust without teaching hatred to new generations, and lastly, it is the ability to collectively forgive the events of the past that sustain this culture.
Hi, I'm Julie Rose. I'm the director of the West Baton Rouge Museum, and I study how museums interpret commemoration and how they interpret difficult histories. The question about is it important or what the significance is of interpreting the Holocaust in museums for the preservation of Jewish culture is a really important question, and it's a really very big question. Perhaps the key reason that we want to preserve these stories and tell the stories of the Holocaust is for social justice education. The cry for never again and never forget means that we want these stories to be remembered because they're significant to shaping the culture that we know today. The Jewish culture in so many ways is obviously impacted generation by generation by these kinds of horrible events of oppression, and they really inform how we live as Jews today. And for people who are not Jewish, it's really important for the global community to recognize the significance of mass oppression and traumatic events, including war, for understanding that there is wicked in the world and there's good in the world. So in terms of social justice education, yes, preserving these stories and telling these stories is absolutely vital.
I reached out to acquaintances raised in both the United States and Australia to find out where the majority of their Jewish culture education came from.
My name is Alexis, and I grew up in Arkansas, USA. And the only thing I ever learned about Jews was in the 8th grade when we learned about the Holocaust. Other than that, I never really heard the word Jew until I met Olivia.
Jared Clark, and throughout our younger education in primary school and high school, we were only really taught about the Jewish culture through the Holocaust and during World War II and I, whereas anything else about Jewish culture within Australia wasn't really taught.
In order to further explore my newfound appreciation for the role of Holocaust museums in sustaining the Jewish culture, I decided to visit one right here in Melbourne. This is the outside of the Jewish Holocaust Museum located in Melbourne. Since I was not permitted to take video footage inside, I will briefly describe the exhibit for you. The Melbourne Museum is laid out in the shape of a circle. You turn left when you enter the museum and are immediately met with the events leading to Hitler's rise to power. As you walk along the pathway, you're exposed to all different aspects of the Holocaust, from personal testimonies to articles of clothing to memorials, until you eventually come to the end of the war and the liberation of the concentration camps. The entire experience is moving for both Jews and non-Jews alike.
I had the experience of walking through the Holocaust Museum in Melbourne. It was a heavy feeling. I'd never been through one myself before, and to read some of the stories and some of the diaries of the people was a different experience that I hadn't ever had to go through, I guess.
Each museum exhibits a recurring theme as a sort of light at the end of the tunnel or a flame that cannot be put out. These are feelings of hope. They are feelings of perseverance. These feelings and their presence in Holocaust museums are behind our lasting Jewish culture.